peace and blessings to you. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And so is this brother that's sharing the screen with me today, all the way from sunny San Diego, smooth jazz guitarist extraordinaire, Dr. Dave. We're going to talk to him about all things music and the wonderful work that he's doing down there in California with that slamming guitar right after we do this. As you know, all of our videos are sponsored by the wonderful people at Vocal. Vocal is the only beverage on the planet which is designed to soothe, refresh, and restore your voice. If you talk all day like I sometimes do, or sing all night, I don't know if Dr. Dave sings or not. We're going to find out. You've got to get yourself some Vocal. So go to drinkvocal.com to learn more. Well, you know, if we do anything at all on the EntreMusician, is we have an opportunity to dialogue with some people who are slamming it, who are making it work. And not only are they proficient on their instruments, but they know the business of music, the promotion of music. They've got catalog, and they're doing a lot of great things, such as the gentleman that's sitting here, whom I haven't personally met or known. I just linked in with him through LinkedIn, went to his website, discovered a plethora of wonderful music, had to interview him. His name is Dr. Dave. First question, Dr. Dave. First of all, welcome to the episode. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for the nice introduction.
Well, I have an incredible question, and I'm sure everybody is going to ask this question. Is he a real doctor, like a medical doctor? How would you answer that question?
Well, I am a real doctor of clinical psychology. I'm not a doctor of medicine.
I see.
I had a practice for years. I used to do psychodiagnostics.
So you can tell me during the course of the interview exactly what's wrong with me and why I'm so crazy. Is that right?
Not really, no. They don't teach us how to read minds in your doctoral program.
Well, wow. So
that would be fun.
It would be fun. So if you find that I have some crazy disorders, or you see my obsessive compulsive behavior kind of kicking in, you let me know, okay?
Okay, I'll point something out. How's that?
So what came first, the music career or the degree that you had?
Well, actually, music came first by many, many years. I've been playing since I was 9 years old. And professionally, I was actually playing in rock and roll and blues bands when I was a teenager. So it came much, much earlier than being a doctor.
So what made you decide to pursue that career when you were so on point in music? Is it because music doesn't pay, or what was the...
Well, you're very close to the right answer. When I was in college, I was actually a jazz musician, and I was trying to look for a major. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, and I stumbled across this field called recreation therapy. And that led to me having to do an internship. So I got an internship. I was sitting next to a fellow student, and he worked at a psychiatric hospital. And he said there was an internship available. And I was a little nervous because I had no experience with psych at all. To tell you the truth, I was a little scared about the whole idea.
Wow.
So, but I needed an internship, so I did it. And I found it fascinating, interesting. And I also was exposed to group therapy, psych testing, all the issues related to treatment of people with mental illness. And I found it extremely interesting. I thought, if I went on in school and became a clinical psychologist, I could have my own practice, which means I'd have control of my schedule so I could play music whenever I wanted.
Wow.
So largely in part, the top priority was always music. And here was clear that I wasn't stuck Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I could work late in clubs till 2 or 3 in the morning back in those days. That's what we did. In fact, the band members, after playing, would go out for breakfast. So we would go home when the sun would come down. So I could schedule all my patients around playing music. And that's really in large part how I did it. Not to say that I didn't have a genuine interest, and in fact, frankly, found out I had a knack for shall we say, treating and connecting with people with mental illness. I don't know what that says about me. I would, you know, I remember a funny story one time. I was standing in the intensive care unit of the psych hospital, and me and another doctoral student were standing there, and we looked around us, and this was surrounded by a lot of people with serious psychosis. And we looked at each other, and he says to me, "Do you find it kind of odd that we feel very comfortable here?"
That's funny. And you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable, but you know that you're doing a great service to them in helping them through some of the emotional issues that they're facing.
Absolutely. I found it to be extremely rewarding, to be perfectly honest, over the years that I did practice. I'm no longer practicing now. I'm a full-time recording artist. It just got to the point where the music took off and I had to choose one or the other. Music's always been my passion since I was a child, so of course I went with that. But I feel good about my contribution to society as a result of practicing and helping people as well. Individuals, families, everybody.
Well, I tell you what, the name Dr. Dave is definitely a musical marketing genius, you know, to say, hey, Dr. Dave, and you can transfer that branding onto the guitar of what you do so well. Now, here, before we go into the music totally, was there ever a time where you thought, you know, I'm treating this patient, I'm talking him or her through this particular issue, maybe I should just bring up my guitar and play for them? Do you ever do that?
No. The setting, no, it would be inappropriate. No, shall we?
In what way? Tell me, in what way, if music soothes a savage beast, so to speak, how would that be? Because I don't know. I am very naive.
Sure,
So,
I understand it's a legitimate question. You have to understand that the people that would come to see me when I was practicing came in with very serious problems. And so those problems need to be attended to. It wasn't about making them feel better. It was about actually gaining the skills, insights that required a lot of work on both of our parts, really, because I had to figure out how best to maneuver them in the direction I could see they needed to go. And it was a very painful experience for them, but they needed to confront a lot of these things. Even though the end result was emotional relief, as in when you see something you didn't see before, as the phrase goes, the truth shall set you free. In other words, when they see more than they did before, there's a freedom that's involved in them. There's that aha moment of relief. Like, aha, I get it now. Now it makes sense, you see. But that requires a lot of work to get to that point, usually, and dealing with a lot of discomfort. Playing the guitar would just be a distraction from dealing with that. And let me elaborate a little bit, too, on the Dr. Dave thing. The Dr. Dave is actually a nickname that was given to me before I became a doctor.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's a combination of, it's a combination of I was playing with a band at the time, many years ago, and I was doing, on the break, I was doing some scatting on the guitar like Benson does. And they all looked at me and they said, "We didn't know you could do that. Look at this guy, Dr. Dave over here." Meaning, like doctor, like the best at that, or doing a unique style like Dr. J or Doc Powell or Doc Severinsen. So from then on, I was called Dr. Dave. The band gave me that. And then it was reinforced when I was still a club musician and I became a doctor. Remember my last name. So, for example, the dialogue would go like this: "Who's on guitar tonight?" And the other guy would say, "It's Dave, Dr. Dave." And they go, "Oh yeah, Dr. Dave. Okay, we know." They knew I was a doctor. They knew I was a guitarist. So they put it together. So it's a combination of both of those. And then Kelly Cole at KIFM Radio back in the 90s, when San Diego had a smooth jazz radio station. My first record I actually released was under my full name. And she told me that she was out there talking about my new album to people, and they didn't know who I was. Because my last name's Hatherill. They said, she says, "I've been telling people, have you heard that Dave Hatherill's new album?" And they looked at her and said, who's that? And she goes, you know Dr. Dave? And they go, oh, yeah, Dr. Dave, we know him. Oh, he's got a new album. So she calls me on the phone and she says, why don't you go by Dr. Dave? Nobody knows you by your real name. And I said, well, if that's what works, okay, I'll do that. She goes, yeah, it's easy. So I went by that. And then recently I decided in the last few years to use the concept add band, so Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band, because I always got the question when I said I was recording ours. They said, what's your name? I say, I go by Dr. Dave. They'd say, do you have a band? So now the new brand is Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band.
Excellent.
Take care of that. And it's been quite successful. It's done very well now.
That's excellent. And so you have how many albums out? Is it 3 or 4 albums?
It's about 8.
8 albums. Wow. You know what? That's incredible. I don't think I saw all of the discography on the website. I need to do a little bit more research.
Yeah.
I know 3.
Yeah, if you go on the website and you look at it, you'll see about 8 albums.
Incredible.
Is www.drdavehousecallband.com. And or you can just Google Dr. Dave Jazz, Dr. space Dave space Jazz, and then it'll list one of the options is the official website. It'll say so, and it's also on YouTube, Dr. Dave and Housecall Band or Dr. Dave Jazz. It'll take you to God. I probably have 100 songs on there now.
Wow, I got to tell you, I do love the stuff that I've been listening to. You know, you mentioned Doc Powell earlier, Norman Brown, Paul Jackson Jr., the great George Benson. I mean, I can tell that you have done your homework in listening to these gentlemen, but not just emulating them, but, you know, bringing your own approach to your instrument and really doing it flawlessly. I love your production. I love the stuff that, you know, the sound of your band, the tightness, and it's just like all on point. So that's why I made the call to try to get you on because, man, it's just you're doing great things out there, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I learned a lot about production from Carl Evans Jr. You might remember the Fatburger Band.
Sure, absolutely.
And my first 3 albums actually is I worked with Carl Evans Jr. and the Fatburger Band members in large part, not all of them all the time, but on one of the albums, all of them. And he taught me how to do production and how to produce an album through the whole process. So after those first 3 albums, I thought, you know, I don't need a producer anymore. I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually surprised myself in the studio. I said, hey, where did that idea come from? I guess that probably came from Carl. Where'd that idea come? Yeah, that's right. It comes from the structure of what we did before, watching Carl do this. And then I came up with another idea and I'd go, well, that's a new one. So that must be me.
Wow. That's absolutely excellent. And you've worked with some other notables too, but I have to ask you this question as we're bridging the gap between clinical psychologist and musician. What was there a seminal moment where you decided, okay, I'm going to give up this profession and go into music full time? What was that moment or that season like when you just crossed over and said, I'm not looking back, I'm a full-time musician?
It's when my release, my song hit the charts. First song I did. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. Usually you put out a few different songs and you hope to make the charts. And this actually was very successful right off the bat. Mm-hmm. I think some of the success also became with by association because I was playing on the first album with Freddie Hubbard on trumpet. And Ernie Watts, who's played with Lee Rittenauer,
saxophone player,
absolutely he actually played on the old Tonight Show band with Johnny Carson too. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. At one time, he was the top studio recording artist musician in the United States, which means probably the world. Yeah. And I think that recognition helped a lot, but it just took off, and I thought, well, maybe it's time. And so I went with it. And what I started to do is just dwindle out I just didn't accept any new patients and started dwindling out. I didn't want to abandon anybody. There's a certain responsibility that comes with that. So I certainly am always available to all my ex-patients anytime they want to see me, but I'm not taking anymore. And currently everybody's doing really well, so I'm not seeing anybody right I'm just focusing on.
You ever get into a situation where you're at a club and you see someone come to you with a problem, and your doctor hat clicks on like, I think.
No, not, because they don't assume that I'm a clinical psychologist. They either assume it's a nickname and and that I'm not a doctor. It's just a band, Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band. Like there was a band called Dr. Strangelove, for example.
Yeah.
Dr. Strangelove was a real doctor.
Right.
So most of them assume that. Some of them just ask, and but most of the time they just talk about music.
Very cool. Well, tell me about the season of time that you worked with the wonderful Laws brothers, Ronnie and Hubert.
Oh, those guys are great. Ronnie Laws is fantastic. He was the Kenny G before Kenny G existed. If you go back to the 70s,
Correct.
He's the top. He's a great guy too. I mean, he's really fun. After we did the session, we went out and played tennis at La Jolla High School. Had fun. And then his brother Hubert Laws is considered the greatest jazz flautist in the world. I don't know anybody that disputes that.
Yeah.
And so they and their wives and me, and we all went out and played some tennis in the area and had a good time. They are phenomenal to work with. It's amazing. It's just truly amazing how both of them, their instruments are just a part of who they are. Mm-hmm. It's almost it's like just as easy as speaking a language as talking, having a conversation. That's how easily the notes come out. So I just verbally tell them a concept and they got it. Mm-hmm. And it makes work go so much easier.
Oh yeah. Well, they're the absolute tops. I mean, one of my favorite albums of all time, and you may have this in your collection, but it's Hubert Laws and Earl Klugh. It's a soundtrack to a movie called How to Beat the High Cost of Living. And I'm a little kid when I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, this is amazing stuff. I didn't really even care for the movie. I just went out and bought the soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I've seen movies like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Hubert Laws, I mean, where I was really taken by him was the stuff he did. He did a live concert back with George Benson at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
And I think it was in 1975. I could be wrong. It's Benson live at Carnegie Hall. And it's there's a song called Octane that he just kills it. And, of course, Benson is Benson. He's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And, I wrote a song. Actually, Benson's so phenomenal. I give Benson so much credit. And, I mean, I wouldn't even be playing jazz if it weren't for George Benson, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I dedicated a song on this new album called GB Style. Yeah. And I think it's on the new album. If it's not, it's on Carefree. And GB Style is called. And GB, of course, is George Benson. So I dedicated the song to him. And some of his identifiable licks, phrases in my here and there throughout the improvisation. So
wow.
It's a feel that it has a similar flow that This Masquerade did, which is the song that made it famous.
Yes. Absolutely. Beautiful song. Now, do you sing? You mentioned scatting, but do you sing in your music or in your albums?
I'm generally just a guitarist, not because I can't, because truthfully, I don't feel that comfortable singing, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I love playing, but I don't feel comfortable singing. I did sing on a song I added in some female vocalists so you can barely hear me, but I am singing, and it's a song that did rather well on radio. It's called Reserved for Abby. That's on the album Whatever Happened CD, and that's actually with Ronnie Laws and Hubert Laws. You can see that.
Oh, excellent.
And Ronnie Laws is playing on that tune. He does a really nice solo.
Wow.
And Hubert Laws is on a song called I Hold My Pillow, which has female singers singing throughout the tune in the background. And that's generally what I do with regards to vocals. I have women vocalists come in. Like, for example, the newest hit video was Sexy Cindy. And if you watch the video on YouTube, Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band, Sexy Cindy, you'll see the female vocalist. There is one gentleman in there, but generally you're going to hear him. He's excellent, but the women, that voice in the background, I just think is so nice and sexy. He adds a little baritone to the thing, you know. It's really nice.
Now, was that the video I was watching where the young lady was playing the saxophone? Is that the same video? Or that's
no, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Don't worry. That right.
Yes.
Right.
And
Great cover.
She's an actress out of Los Angeles. I got her from an agency. She was on one of the episodes of 2.5 Men. She's been in a few different commercials and things like that. She's excellent. And she even fooled my sax player about playing sax. That's how good she
was doing her thing, man.
Nothing about the sax, but she did it beautifully. She even had the armature of the sax. And he was impressed with how good she was. And I said, "You really think she's playing?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." And he goes, "No."
I did too. I thought, whoa, she's doing the lines, man. She had it down. She played her part.
She sure did. Yeah, she's excellent. She's really a pro.
You take her on the road with you,
Yeah.
She's probably better looking than your sax player. I mean,
Oh, God, yes. Every man I talk to, did you see the video? They always say, "Oh, man, do I like her." Oh, they have some comment about her. She's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And knows how to play the camera, isn't she?
Right. Absolutely. So tell me.
Flutter down and everything. Oh, I wish I had that kind of camera presence, I guess, instead of stage presence.
Well, she absolutely did her thing. And tell me about your best gig ever. What was your best gig ever? I mean, you've played with all the notables, but for Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band, what was the one where this was the magic night?
Well, I had a few of them. There's a jazz festival that I played at in Brazil. It's called Festival de Jazz and Blues de Guaramianga. And Guaramianga is the town that they have a big jazz festival in every year. It's like being in the Amazon jungle. It's up in the mountains. It's outside of Fort de Leyza, which is actually down, and it's more of a desert type of. It's at the beach, and it's a semi-arid desert region. But when you go up in the mountains, the whole climate changes, and you're surrounded by dense forest and vegetation like the Amazon forest. And at night, you can hear every wild animal there is out there loud. I mean, loud. You can hear that. If you walk out there, you're going to be some animal's meal.
My goodness.
It was quite an experience. But during the daytime, great crowd. They loved everything we did. They love American jazz. And it was just wonderful. It was just a fabulous time. I had a great time at playing years ago at an outdoor stage at Humphreys. Had a great concert out there. It was a big holiday. That was a lot of fun too. And so I would say those two. Yeah. I would say those two.
Well, conversely, tell me about the absolute worst gig that you've done or had the worst experience.
A worst gig is when a musician doesn't show up. That's the thing that makes it worse. Mm-hmm. Because then you really have to compensate. And one of the musicians, it was a jazz festival we were playing at, and I honestly cannot remember where it was to be exact, but it was somewhere in up around Los Angeles. There was some jazz festival there, and the guy got lost, and it was the bass player. So I asked the keyboard player, "Can you play left-hand bass?" And he says he hadn't done it in years because that's more of an organ player.
Sure, right.
And he says, "Not really." So we had to change on stage in the moment. We had to rearrange the tunes. We had to approach them in a whole different philosophy.
Correct.
So the way we tried to do it was instead of sometimes the best thing to do is don't try to replace, it's try to do something completely different.
Correct.
So what we would do is we would start, for example, just me playing by myself. So I'd come out and play quite a while just by myself to set the mood. Then the drummer would come in slowly, you see, and then give me the tempo. And then it'd just be the two of us.
Yeah.
And we'd build from there. Then, then the singers would come in and do the little verbal stabs is what it called, and vocal stabs. And then the keyboard player would just fill in. So nobody really noticed that there's no bass.
Exactly.
You see? So, and then instead of trying to fill it up, we did the opposite. When it come to a solo, we'd all back out. We decided to go that direction. In other words, you go with it, go with the flow rather than trying to swim upstream and drown.
Exactly. Well, Dr. Dave, that doesn't sound like your worst gig. That sounds like a learning experience.
Well, it was the worst from the stand. It's true, but often our most stressful times end up being our most growth times. You know, that's when we learn the most. Actually, if you think about it, most of the time when we're having fun, we don't really learn that much. It's when you're forced to go through stressful times or difficult times, that's when you learn.
This is the doctor in you coming out now with that answer.
Yeah. You can't exclude one and the other. You can't do something for that many years and have it not be a part of your life. I mean, they do intertwine quite nicely, music and psychology. They do very much so, because they're both representative of life. Like especially when I'm with musicians in the studio and we're putting together a piece of music.
Yeah.
Actually, I hire the Housecall Band it's always the same bass player, but I have a couple of different keyboard players that I'll use, and I have a couple of different drummers I'll use. I use the same horn player to do the arrangements. That's John Rekovics, and he's actually he does all the arrangements for the San Diego Symphony. He's really fantastic. But other than that, all the rest of them I pick and choose and there's a good reason for that, because I pick them based on who they are and how they play. Mm-hmm. And it's who they are and how they play is representative of who they are. Mm-hmm. So I don't write notes down to tell them how to play. I leave spots open for them to be who they are. I hired them for a reason, because I like them. Yeah. So I don't want to intrude or interfere in any way, shape, or form in who they are. So I leave spots open for them, and I say, that's your spot. You be you in that spot. That's why you're here. See, and I found that when I do that, then they feel more a sense of belonging and attachment and a part of the songs, rather than me just dictating to them what to do. And that's kind of in life, you know, it's about accepting who people are and working with them.
Yeah.
They crush them. It's representative. One's representative of the other and vice versa.
That's absolutely excellent answer. Here's what's bad is how quickly 30 minutes can fly by. When we're having fun. So I'm going to have to ask you to come back on at some point for another interview, because this is absolutely fantastic. Now, with respect to being an EntreMusician, though, what is the most important lesson that you've learned? Again, it's not just about you and your instrument on the stage in the studio, but this grind of the music industry and you having to hustle. What's the most important lesson that you've learned?
Actually, it's connections with people. It's you know, the old phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, there's some truth to that. You do have to know your craft. I mean, but to get into doors, you have to meet a lot of people, and it's very important that they like you. Let's face it. Are you going to go out of your way to help somebody if you don't like them? No,
not at all.
Doesn't matter who they are, how good they are, what they do. You kind of you're kind of on your own. But if they like you, then they'll take an extra step to go out of their way and work with you. And that actually is the truth in every aspect of life, as well as specifically the music industry. I found the most difficult, and basically I just relax and be who I am. That's what you really got to do. You got to be comfortable with yourself.
Absolutely.
And you got to have something to offer. It's got to be real. You can't make things up. You got to be genuine. If you don't know something, you got to say, I don't know.
Exactly.
So But I find that works. But getting through those doors and getting to those people isn't as easy as people think it is. You know,
True.
people think you just have somebody famous listen to your music and they can connect you to somebody. That's not the way it works.
Right.
They're in the same boat you are. They like George Benson, for example. I had a nice conversation with George Benson one day. The greatest guy in the world. He's so nice. He's just genuinely a nice guy. Besides being the greatest guitarist I think that God ever made, he's just a great guy.
Yeah.
And you know, he's in the same boat I am. You know, there's nobody he's really going to introduce me to or present to or my music to. We're in the same boat, even though he's far more famous than I am.
Sure.
You know, we're still in the same boat. Ronnie Laws said the same thing. Hubert Laws said the same thing. They are known, but you have to build that reputation slowly and over a period of time, and getting the exposure and having people hear your music and hear the quality of your music and seeing if they like you and if they like your music. And that's kind of what it does, and that takes time.
That's excellent. That's an excellent answer. And, you know, thank you so much for being an inspiration, because I know there's a lot of EntreMusicians who, you know, are out here and who watch these videos and who are trying to put the career together, who are still in that, you know, mode of juggling between their day job and what they do in the clubs at night. And, you know, you have reached the point where you said, hey, this is what I'm put on this earth to do. And you did it. And you've made the connections, but you've done the work. You've put the work in, and you've networked with people, and you've made it happen. So, I mean, you are, in our opinion, one of the epochs of success, because I'm grinding, I'm making it happen, I'm gigging, I'm writing, I'm producing, I'm networking, and I'm excelling in this dream that the Lord gave me. So, and I salute you. I applaud you. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to do this interview. We do know that there were some technical snafus behind the scenes that almost negated this from happening, but I'm grateful for your perseverance. And here we go. I hope that you will come back on at some point as the year continues and do another interview with us.
I would love to. I would love to anytime.
Final.
And thank you for your patience with me. I'm kind of old school, and a lot of this new technology is a little confusing to me, but I did learn through the process. So.
That's just like that gig without the bass player. You learn, you innovate.
I didn't think it was going to happen until this morning, actually. So, yeah, thank you for your patience and your help with us.
It's all good. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow EntreMusicians, this is Dr. Dave. We're going to have his website up top, Dr. Dave's Jazz, or Dr. Dave and the Housecall Band, if you're out in the San Diego area, or virtually if you're in Brazil. If you're anywhere near a jazz festival, you're going to run into his music. If you love smooth jazz, you're going to love Dr. Dave. Check out the YouTube videos, over 100 videos up there posted, lots of music, 8 albums, doing it to death. Brother, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you very much. You have a nice day.
Absolutely. Peace and blessings to you. I am the EntreMusician. Dr. Dave is an EntreMusician, and so are you. We will see you next time. God bless.